Welcome to Bad Gear, the show about the world's most hated audio tools. Not too long ago, the world of electronic music production was dominated by massive keyboards and 19-inch rack synths and samplers. While there are still some flagship instruments out there, contemporary sound generators designed for classic studio racks are becoming increasingly rare. Today we are going to talk about the Akai S2000. This 1995 stereo sampler and little sibling of the S3000 is not one of the sexy 19-inch units like the MKS80 or maybe even an Oberheim Matrix 1000. It was designed as a low-budget sampling workhorse and excels at all the tasks today's DAWs are very good at. Will this be the most boring Bad Gear episode of all time? At the first glance, the S2000 is ticking all the boxes. Trademark dental plaque-colored paint job, a display reminiscent of Roland instruments past and present, and a very minimalist front panel with a dual concentric data select wheel. This unit was retrofitted with a USB floppy emulator, replacing the stock 3.5-inch disk drive. The 2K doesn't have a dedicated ROM for its operating system. It will not work without a boot disk, and even if you think mods like this are a betrayal of the vintage gods, it certainly comes in handy in this case. Speaking of upgrades, this unit was updated from 2 megs of RAM to 32. The sampler operates at 44.1 kHz 16-bit, so if you were hoping for the legendary 12-bit crunch of an S950, you will be disappointed. Initiating the recording process with a user-defined trigger threshold works like a charm, and memory usage can be optimized by recording at half the maximum sample rate. Quite obviously, you will have to do all edits and set loop points by ear. Most values are displayed in samples, and the machine has a non-undoable loop crossfade functionality, fades, normalization, zero, and the S3000's time stretch. In case you are shocked by the degree of menu diving necessary to get your samples ready,
you ain't seen nothing yet.
Single edit mode, which is focused on creating and editing monotimbral programs but can handle some multi-timbrality using the old Akai method, lets you step through over 60 menu screens. Multi-edit mode adds another 10 to the menus of its 16 parts. You can take shortcuts using the group buttons though. As we are talking about one of the classic Akai samplers, these programs are deep and offer many synth-like features. A resonant filter,
envelopes
with surprisingly useful templates, one of them multi-stage, 2 LFOs,
monolegato mode,
plenty of key groups with up to 4 zones each, key group crossfades, velocity switches, convenient management of the 32 voices of polyphony, and a stand mixer with blender. Around 60% of the time you spend working with the S2000 will be dedicated to naming stuff. 3.5-inch floppies are not an ideal format for storing audio files, even by 1995 standards, so Akai added a SCSI interface for data storage on old-school CD-ROM drives, hard disks, and it's supposed to work with SCSI to USB adapters too. Circuit benders love the 2K quite a bit. Some people managed to run the original Mesa software on contemporary computers, and the current software editor situation is a bit confusing. There are further expansion options. 2 slots for non-volatile flash RAM cards, a super rare multi-mode filter card, and the multiple output and FX card are compatible with the MPC 2000 and therefore highly sought after. The unit is built to last, and its enclosure is as deep as its menu structure. Fun fact, the seller included an MPD16 controller free of charge, and it's Bad Gear too. S2000s are plentiful, and only a handful of reverb sellers are really pushing their luck. The Akai S2000 opened up the world of professional sampling for a wider audience. Is there still some use for it, or has it been surpassed by post-2000 hardware and software? You have already heard a 20 kHz sample rate recording of the OG intro tune. The sampler artifacts are surprisingly subtle. Time to explore the synth engine of the S2000 with some raw waveforms. The filter of the S2000 is not so bad. It's not so good either. It took me a while to establish a workflow, and even then operating the 2K remained tedious. Although most of the drum samples were recorded at the lo-fi setting, the unit doesn't add a lot of character. I wanna know if we can get some old school sampling gnarliness by recording at double speed and pitching it down in the machine. Never gets old. Using this technique certainly gives the classic break a gritty feel and presence, but I'm not sure if it was worth the hassle. The sampler really shines with the added compression and tube saturation. The S2000 is like a blank canvas. Let's add a few Akai disk images from my collection and throw together some random samples for this floppy disk sample library house music in celebration of awkward loop points and faulty file conversion. Without a doubt, Akai was the king of sampling, and the S2000 is a reminder of its greatness. The concept of an affordable sampler with plenty of professional features, expansion options and studio-level sound quality worked great back in the day. However, as pristine sounding digital audio is readily available today, the S2000 doesn't bring much to the table sonically. What is more, the workflow is let's call it, acquired taste, and the sampler isn't much fun without expansion cards and interfacing gimmicks. You know, I learned something today. Most probably 19-inch rack instruments just aren't as popular as they used to be because it's not easy to make them look good on social media. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, become a patron and leave a comment what other kind of gear you would like to see and hear on the show. Thanks to all my patrons for supporting the channel. Today's protagonist, the Akai S2000, is known for its vocal mangling capabilities, so we are going to stretch the definition of a vocoder shoutout a bit and give the time stretch functionality and synth engine a go. Rocco Misko, Thierry Delay,
Polaroid of the Pyramids.
Anderson.
Tier 6. Let's add a little vintage sparkle with a Roland Space Echo. Again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. See you next month.